Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of Diamond Rivera Films, and you are tuned into another episode of Live Discussions with Diamond. And today we have an amazing guest all the way right now. She is in Germany, the one and only Anna Hoekstra. I believe,
That was
hopefully.
actually really good. You
Oh,
did really good.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
That was better than the run through. It was great.
Yes. Yeah, everyone, I'm really thankful to have Anna here today. She is a Zouk instructor based out of Australia, I believe. And
Originally, yes.
yes, and right now she is in Germany teaching. She has been, honestly, I've gotten to know of her through Facebook and through events and other friends of mine who are in the Zouk communities in New York City. And seeing a person like herself, a female solo artist at that, I think it was very important to bring a person like herself onto the platform so she can give myself and others a deeper look into her story beyond just being a dancer, but also how dance has affected her life. So again, Anna, I thank you so much for being on the platform today.
Thanks for having me. Sorry, I'm just also simultaneously trying to set up comments. So I read the comments as they come up.
No worries at all. No worries. Absolutely. As I kind of start every interview, right now as well, you just finished I believe it was called the Online Zouk Telethon.
Yes.
Could you kind of, before we kind of go all the way back to the beginning, could you kind of give us, myself and the audience, more clarity and understanding on what this Online Zouk Telethon was all about?
Yeah, sure. So the Online Zouk Telethon was a charity event to raise money for artists who were impacted by COVID. We ended up with 11 artists on the list, which actually involved several schools in Brazil. So the actual total artists was something like 27 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we managed to raise it was $1,800 for the artists, which for the guys in Brazil, that's like months worth of rent, which is so amazing for them. Like I was really worried about lots of, because they were all like so excited. It was like 3 weeks pay for them. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 1,800 US that we raised. And then, it was basically just all the Zouk artists from all over the world getting online and behaving like idiots for 24 hours, really. Like, we had live demos. Zookers adore their live demos. If you've noticed if anyone has a Forza on Facebook, if you noticed his Facebook feed is mostly him tagging people and being like, so you doing a live soon? Like, he does that. Calls people out by name. I think the most recent one was Alex de Cavallo, who's one of the most like top tier guys in Zouk. Like he's like being real like aggressive now. It's great. I've been thoroughly enjoying all the lives, so it's been good. But we had lives. We had 2 game shows, which I straight up stole the concept from an Australian TV show called Spicks and Specks, which is hilarious. It's the name is based on a Bee Gees song, I think. But it's a very, very funny show that's got all professional musicians in it. And every question is super, super music specific. So you have to be like a professional to understand and to be able to answer the things. And so we did the same thing, but with Zouk. And so there was a lot of like really vague questions that no one else would understand. And there was like in jokes and like things like that going on the whole time, which was really funny. And then we had, oh gosh, what else we had? We had so many different things happening. I did a cooking show. I told everyone to make a Brazilian snack called pão de queijo, which is like addictive as all hell. It's cheese bread.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I mean, and it's like, to me, I really found it really special was that, especially during COVID times, you yourself and other Zouk dancers all over the world came together to help other people who are in need in your communities. And I think it's really remarkable. It's amazing because that is something that, especially in the US, we need more of, having these collaborations of different artists. Because as we know in the dance world in Australia or Germany on the other side of the world compared to the US, can seem so different, and the approach and just
Yeah.
how how people are. So again, I really think that, like you said, you were able to raise over $1,800 in US for these dancers that were in need. So again, I really appreciate everything you're doing for your community, and that's now allows me now to transition into understanding Anna before the dance. What was Anna like? What was her life like before dance got involved, and when did dance get involved into your life?
So for me, I grew up in a very active household and also a very musical household. So I was a diver, like from a diving board. I was a gymnast. I spent nearly 10 years doing circus performance. I was also a singer for a very long time. I sung in the Sydney Opera House multiple times, things like that. And mum plays like 4 instruments. My brother plays whatever damn instrument he picks up. It's maddening. Yeah, and it's just really like my whole life was very much immersed in music and physical activity. But I actually didn't do really any dance. I did like occasional like 6-week block because I decided I wanted to be a hip hop dancer or whatever. And then realized I sucked at it and gave up.
Yeah.
And then I was at university and I got quite sick. And this was in my first year of uni. I was studying to become a doctor. So I was doing the pre-medical stuff.
Yes.
There's like 2 different pathways in Australia. You can go straight in, or you can do like 3 years and then do another 4 in a separate degree. So I was doing the 3-year thing. And then I got very sick in my first year, along with most of my faculty at the uni. And for most of the faculty, they all got better. We all had glandular fever, which you guys call, I can't remember what you guys call it in the US, but we all had that. And I think you guys call it mono.
Yes, mono. That is a common, especially in universities, because there's so many people like clammed up. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So we all had that, and then mono is a really common thing to give people different diseases afterwards. So a lot of people got chronic fatigue and things like that, and I got a little cocktail of different diseases, which made it basically impossible to diagnose me. And spent 2 years pretty much on bed rest. So the year I had the glandular fever, I was coughing up blood every morning. It was a very scary year of my life. And then the year I was getting diagnosed was just constantly going to the doctors and being told I was crazy. And then my GP, who's been my GP my whole life, came back from getting chemotherapy, and I went, okay, something's wrong, and gave him a file, and he went, something's very wrong. Just the fact that you're here tells me something's wrong, ignoring the file. And he sent me for every single test. I ended up having asthma from all the chest infections I had. I ended up having a bunch of other stuff, which all got resolved. And I just still had this extreme exhaustion, which meant I wasn't conscious for more than a few hours a day. And I wasn't able to think things through, and I wasn't able to have much cognitive function. And when we finally figured out what it was, first thing my doctor says to me is, you need to be doing 6-7 hours of exercise a week, every week. It doesn't matter how shit you feel, you have to be doing it. And I went, okay, that's fine. In summer, I can go surfing, but in winter, what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the kind of person to play soccer or netball or any of that. I hate team sports. Like, I like being on a team. I hate team sports. Like, I hate the competitiveness between the 2 teams, and I hate the catty bullshit behind the scene. I hate that. So I hate team sports. So it's like, what am I doing? And this girl at the uni was inviting me to salsa and bachata classes. So I was like, yeah, screw it. This sounds fine. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Involves people. Like, could be fun. So I started doing salsa and bachata and got so hooked. I was like, oh, I like this. And then little did I know, I didn't really like it that much. But then I went to a social. And I was like, never leaving. Like, this is the best thing ever. I love socials. I'm like the photo next to the word extrovert in the dictionary. Like, I was so hyped, and I was like, this is amazing. I get to touch people and hugs and like connection and amazing and dance and exercise. And I was like getting more and more and more. It's really good. And it meant I was doing like a 30 or 40-hour dance week, like a month into dancing.
Wow. That
Yeah.
that's really intense. I mean, especially from a person like yourself who had just went this type of experience, but to kind of dive in to something, especially like dance, and kind of go like just head first. And it's awesome that dance really kind of came into your life at that point.
Yeah, it was a big turning point for me because I had no friends because I hadn't seen anyone in like 2 years. I couldn't go to anyone's birthday parties. Like I just barely made it to one of my best friend's weddings. I had like so much going on. I remember midway through that friend's wedding, I ended up having a panic attack because of chest pain and all this other stuff, and hiding in the bathroom for like half an hour of the service. So like it meant I was like very isolated when I first started dancing, and I was also very like cooped up mentally. Like I like wanted to do stuff for so long and I wasn't able to. So it was really good to just kind of start doing something. And then all of a sudden I had all these new friends, and I got very addicted.
Do you feel like you have an addictive personality, or if something is at your interest, you're kind of 100% in there?
Yeah, if it's something I'm interested in, I'm like very focused.
Gotcha. So wait, this was what? Do you remember the time frame again that you started dance?
2015 was the year I got sick. And late 2016 would have been when I started dancing.
Gotcha. So already 4 years in, I mean, just to see where you are, but then, like you said, you started with salsa and bachata, and was that type of scene where you were, was it really popular, or was it kind of more underground?
Very, very popular. Sydney salsa and bachata scene is mental. I really recommend, if you guys end up in Australia, like check it out. Like we had international artists every single festival who had not been to Australia before, and we're like, oh, do you want to come social dancing? And they're like, it's Monday. The fuck do you mean, do I want to come? And we're like, yeah, social dancing. And then there's like 200 people at the social on a Monday night. Like,
Wow.
it's like Mumbo G, Graham Haney, just like his parties go off. Like he does Monday and like one Saturday a month. That's mental Mumbo party, which is just like going all night. It's so good.
That's all. I mean, so you're saying like you guys usually would have these dance studios just packed with people, just like on a Monday night.
Dance studios.
Wow.
During the week was mostly bars. Dance studio parties are usually Friday, Saturday night in Sydney.
Gotcha.
You can't get a bar venue on a Saturday.
Yeah. And then, so in that Sydney, was there any, like you said, Mambo G's, but were there kind of signature places everybody went to, or there were just subdivisions of different places that had events going on?
Sydney seems pretty good. Like it's very inclusive, at least since I joined. I know that in the past there's obviously been drama and whatever. But, it's been pretty inclusive. Like from where I've kind of stood, I never really saw a lot of like bullshit. There was like a lot of times where you'd be at someone else's studio and like a teacher from another studio or even a head from another studio would be there just like hanging out and dancing with each other and catching up. So there's a lot of like really cool joint ventures. The Sydney International Bachata Festival is run between multiple schools in Australia. It's not just one school. It's two Sydney schools and one Melbourne one. Same with Byron Latin Fiesta and a few other things. Like there's a lot of cross stuff.
Gotcha. So a question I have, because I was introduced to you through the Zouk community, how did the Zouk dance kind of enter into your life, or that lifestyle? How did that world come into yours?
So I started doing Zouk because of taking classes at one of the schools. I just saw it and went, oh, this is interesting. Overheating, one sec.
No worries.
Dying.
I know it's probably super hot out there where you are.
No, it's not too bad, but just my body temperature's a bit dicey right now. Joys of being sick. So Yeah, the Zookers, I saw like a workshop at a festival, and then I saw some classes going on, and I just got really interested and started doing classes all the time. Just kind of fell in love with it and fell in love with the community in Sydney. I just kind of love the vibe and the energy in the room and stuff.
Nice. And my question to you is, I've always wanted to understand because I talk to my friends in the Zouk community in New York, but did you feel a difference in the atmosphere between the Salsa Bachata and the Zouk community from your standpoint?
Oh, sorry. Ooh, I'm passing out a little bit here.
You okay? Do you need some water?
I need something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, Gad, we just want to make sure that you're good.
Oh, I don't know what's going on now. Sorry, 1 second.
No worries at all.
So the Zouk scene in Sydney. Oh gosh.
Should we come back to you? Hey everyone, just having some technical difficulties. Check it out on Anna now. Right now, I will come back to you guys. Just stay tuned. Hold on just 1 second.
Close the window. It's raining.
Hey Anna, how's everything?
I think I just passed out.
Okay, sorry, no, we just wanted to take a little break for you just to come back. Are you feeling a little bit better?
Yep.
All right. No, definitely. Again, I was really going. I wanted to ask you. I know you are a part of the zoo community, and I wanted to kind of gauge from your perspective in Sydney in that area. What is the salsa and bachata and zoo community kind of really all inclusive, or they're kind of separate and to themselves?
They're very separate. Not in like a super negative way, just kind of is.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And where you're from, are there a lot of is there a good balance between male and female zouk dancers?
No, there never is.
Really?
No, Zouk is cursed in that we never have enough leaders. Never, never, never.
Okay.
Is
Yeah,
that
that's
dial tone coming in your end or my end?
probably from your end. I can hear you clearly. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just a bit
Okay.
distracting. Okay, it's okay. I have some
All right.
sugar.
Yeah, absolutely. you know, uh, um, it's just really interesting, especially for me being in New York. I've traveled outside of New York, but it's always interesting to understand a woman's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the dance scene, especially from another country,
Yeah.
because we only hear people in the U.S. only hear if we don't travel much, we only hear it from videos or the live videos that y'all do or the promos and demos that you show. That's really all we know. So to get a better perspective from a person like yourself who is involved is great because it gives more insight.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's true for salsa and bachata, but specifically for zouk, the zoukers travel quite a bit.
Mm.
Give me a second. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
So specifically for Zookers, everyone seems to travel quite a bit. In the US especially, they seem to go at least to Canada, Mexico for Zouk MX, and then a lot of them end up in Brazil at some point.
Mhm.
We have this huge culture in Zouk where we do a lot of travel, we do a lot of training. There's this very training focused kind of mentality because with Zouk, it can feel kind of weird and terrible for the first few months. I know my first 6 months, I did not enjoy dancing it socially that much,
Okay.
but I could also kind of see how other people were coming in and like dancing, and they had this look on their face, and I was like, I want that. What is that? I want this. I want this look. I don't know how they get it, but I want this look.
Mhm.
And it meant that there was a lot of I had to train it, I had to do it. And then when I finally got better and I had that click moment, I was like, this is why.
Yeah.
And then those connections and those amazing dances get better, the better you are. Zouk is one of those dance styles where when you're shit, it's shit. And when you get that little click point, which for me was about 6 months, you just get so hooked.
Mhm.
And then you get like super duper into it. And then the better you are, and it doesn't matter how good you are, but the better you are, the better the dances are. You end up having like 4-hour dances with people, and it's just like, yay, I didn't dance with anyone at that social except this
Yeah.
one person, and that was a perfect evening. Like,
Wow. And that's really different to hear because especially in dance cultures and scenes, like when people are dancing, you notice people like to go from one person to the other. But I've noticed that in the zoo community, especially in New York, that when people are dancing, and my question to you is for yourself, is it more what intrigues you more is the connection you have with the partner, or is it the music that's being played?
so for me, I like adore the music. I adore that it's so accessible, and I can hear basic any song and be like, I could zouk to this, and if I can't, I can just text one of the DJs and go, can I have a zouk remix of this? And if they like it, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Like I can text Kaka or DJ Bricks or DJ Alexi from Australia or any of the other amazing DJs like Archie that we have, and be like, do you feel like remixing this for me? And if they like it, they go, oh fuck yeah, I'll have it in a few days. And then like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like we already have a WAP remix.
I heard that. And I actually liked it. It
That
was
took
like,
Brian DJ Bricks from Israel. It took him like 2 days. Like Adrian from the US was like, I want a bachata version. He's like, he's a Zouk one, and he's like, close enough.
and that's true. I mean, and I've from your a question that I have for you is because you also dance bachata, and then you kind of transitioned into the zouk. Do you feel that a lot of the bachata moves that are being put on the stage or in social dancing has a correlation with zouk? Or do people try to integrate the zouk moves into their bachata dancing?
Bachateros are going to hate me. So I guess the Dominican bachateros will love me because I adore Dominican bachata, traditional bachata.
Yes.
Something I don't like in sensual bachata is that it's, for the most part, been in the past very unsafe and very dangerous. And as a Zuka, we watch these things and we flinch, like literally flinch. And these days, I dance pretty much exclusively with high-level bachateros or Zukas who do bachata, because in the places that I've done bachata, and I've done bachata all over Europe and Australia, every time I dance with someone who has no anatomy training or who has no high-level experience, they will break me.
And oh my God, I'm sorry to cut you off, but that what you just said it rings like bells because that's the problem that a lot of women are having is the men that are dancing with them are not trained and they're actually hurting a lot of women on the dance floor.
And something really simple is that move where you guys like lock the elbow out and then like pull the lady forward and down.
Yes, that movement. Yes, I know what you're talking
First and
about.
foremost, that's not a lead. It doesn't feel like a lead. Every time someone leads that on me, I want to step directly forward. I don't want to go down. And in Zouk, that lead is like gentle pixie dust magic. Like in Zouk, it's like a pressure thing on the palm of the hand, and it pushes on certain tendons that are activated because the way our arm is held and all this other stuff. And like it's like about breath and about timing and about all this other stuff. And in Zouk, that move feels amazing, but it's not aesthetic. It doesn't have the like nice straight line and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I really dislike a lot of the bachata versions of Zouk moves. I feel like a lot of them cheapen a lot of the beautiful stuff that we have in Zouk, changes things to make it aesthetic or changes things to make it more sexual. And sometimes I just kind of be like, just dance sertanejo. Dance some sertanejo, you'll be fine. It's the same thing. Like, stop calling it bachata. You're pissing all the bachateros off. Like,
yeah.
I see no bachata flavor. Like, if I see zero bachata flavor in your dance, I'm like, you're dancing sertanejo, like, which is another Brazilian style of dance. So for me, I was just kind of like, can we stop ruining bachata now, please? Like, if you're gonna do sensual moves, and yes, I do acknowledge there are some incredible teachers who have done the work, who are teaching it properly. But the big problem I find in bachata is a lot of the guys especially will learn these moves from YouTube videos and not tutorials, not doing online classes like we have now. Like when we say you can't learn from a YouTube video, people, we do not mean you can't learn from online classes. We mean you can't learn by watching Daniel and Desiree's 4-minute demo.
And what you're saying, Anna, there's so many people who have that same sentiment and same viewpoint. It's really the way you say it is just straight out, and that's how it is. Because in actuality, you're absolutely right.
And the thing is, though, at the end of the day, a lot of the ways someone like Desiree moves, I can't do that. My shoulders don't bend that way. She's super flexible with her shoulders. I can't. It's not going to happen. Like, if you try to do that to me, you'll break my shoulders. And I've had someone try to force that, and I've just like nearly slapped them. Like, I've literally nearly slapped them. And there are safe ways of getting my body into a similar position visually, but it doesn't work in that directly backwards way she does for 99.99999% of bodies.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because, like you said, a lot of the men, the leads that learn from these classes, they're looking at people like Desiree or looking at people like Judith and other dancers, and they think that every woman they choose to dance with is going to understand and move like that, but that's not the case.
But they're also not even doing classes half the time.
Yeah.
They're learning from demo videos, and it's like, this is not safe. So it means that moves that might be quite safe, which are taught with a lot of technique when they're done by people who know what the fuck they're doing. When these people are teaching in ways and they explain the nuances and they explain the differences from Zouk and how you have to be more careful here because of the aesthetic way we do this, this joint becomes quite compromised. You have to be really gentle, blah, blah, blah. They don't ever hear that information because they never do the class. They just see the demo that happens after the class that has this really cool whippy move. Oh, look, I just broke someone's shoulders and like ended her career. Like,
yeah, that is the reality.
Dancer, you end their career. You do this to anyone in any sort of physical thing. If they're a chef, you could end their career. If you do this to an artist, a painter, you end her career. If you do this to almost any profession, you're going to fuck her career up in some way. But if you do it to a professional dancer, you will end her fucking career. Done. She can't move her shoulders for like a year because that sort of injury, I've had this, like backwards dislocation before. I'm lucky that I'm hypermobile, so I didn't break anything, but typically you rip the tendons, rip sections of bone off. That's multiple surgeries. That is minimum a year rehab until you have normal movement, which is never normal movement, and you have chronic pain for the rest of your life. Yeah. There's no real recovery from that shit. And leading that when you don't know how to for me, if I saw someone lead that on someone in my event,
Mm-hmm.
and it resulted in any sort of injury, and there had been any like slight forcing going on or anything like that, I'd bar that person from my venue. I would never let that person. I'm just like, nah, you do not lead safely. Get out.
Yeah.
Like,
It's you just being honest, because a lot of people agree with you. It's just really the tonality of how you do things. But in reality, it is time. What you're saying, it is important, because you're also speaking to those people that are doing things wrong and telling them, hey, I'm a person that knows that you're doing something wrong on the dance floor. Scratch your performance, social dancing. There are men, specifically leaders, male leaders, that are hurting women follows on the dance floor, and you don't hear about it until the person has to go to therapy about it and then speak about it. No, like, this is stuff that does need to change. And for me, I think that kind of helps transition and segue into the next topic I want to talk about, is the topic of boundaries, because I know that was a subject for you that was very imperative on speaking of. So I mean, the floor is yours, and please elaborate more on this topic of boundaries.
boundaries is this. For some reason, some of you guys find this shit so damn complicated. I don't know why. Like, yes, there are obviously women who find this complicated too, don't get me wrong. But for some men specifically, you find this very difficult to grasp. But I think in our scene, especially, the issues we've been having and the issues that have been coming out since COVID started, where artists are being publicly named and shamed and publicly outed for the shitty, horrible things they're doing to the women in our scenes. They're really important discussions to be had, and I think a lot of them have been done very poorly. The Chega de Dança de Assado page, which was a Brazilian Instagram page which named artists, caused a lot of issues, as well as bringing up a lot of important topics and created a lot of really cool change, but it did cause a lot of unnecessary problems and drama. Could have been done slightly better, but there's other stuff that's been done that's also just as impactful, that has been less harmful, and other stuff that's been perhaps more harmful in the way that it's been gone about. But I think as a community, we need to be led from the top. We need to have these people who are artists in our scene and who presume to be the faces of our community and presume to be the people we rely on for what is good practice, to be practicing good shit in their like normal moral lives rather than just their dancing technique. Because at the end of the day, if you're an artist who sleeps with a different girl at every Congress, or if you're doing all this other stuff, eventually there's going to be some sort of miscommunication. There's also issues of power dynamics. As an artist, if you're sleeping with students, there is always going to be the question of, does she want me, or does he or she want me, or is this person feeling some kind of awe or pressure or power imbalance of some description? If it's an organizer sleeping with an artist, same issue. It just like, power dynamics are really, really important. There's a reason school teachers and university teachers are not allowed to sleep with students, apart from school teachers, the underage issue. But like, there's a reason that in most industries where there are teachers, you are not allowed to sleep with students for a certain number of years and after they have stopped being a student. And that's a really important thing, which is we hold our teachers in any type of teaching position, we hold them on this kind of pedestal automatically. And I think it's really important when we are, even if we are behaving with integrity, that we choose who we have these interactions with very carefully, and we choose how we go about it very carefully. But then on the other end, there's the obvious issues of consent. There's obvious issues of assault. There's also the issues of people just not respecting the boundaries on the dance floor. And I think something a lot of people need to learn to recognize is physical distancing cues. It's something very, really simple. Like, if I move my hand from top of your shoulder here. If I move my hand from up here or around your neck in Zouk, we tend to like go all the way across the back and to the shoulder. If I move my hand here, that's a clear fuck off signal. Like that's a clear distancing position, because if I'm here and I lock my elbow, you ain't getting any closer no matter how hard you can't beat me in this fight. Like this is just a straight joint. Like there's no way to break that unless you physically like attack my elbow.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, it's kind of like, and I'm going bye. Like
and see what you just gave was a really big tip about, especially with the Zouk dancers, understanding for male leaders the physical distancing cues of even the shoulder, the hand placement, and it reaching then to your shoulder from your neck side is an indicator to saying, hey, this is now I need more space.
And the thing is, in Zouk, we get taught a lot of this stuff quite a lot. We get taught how to read bodies and stuff, because there is a lot to do with how you dance, that it like plays into it and can become really beautiful. So I actually have this issue a lot less.
Okay.
But I do find it happens a lot in bachata. I need to use my little safety guard.
No, I absolutely.
Guys get so sweaty dancing salsa. Sometimes it's not that I'm like really like disgusted by you or you're like taking my space. Sometimes you're just sweaty and I want some space, man. Like go change your t-shirt. Like
and it's the way you're saying it, I love it, because a lot of men or some men will say, oh, I don't know when she wants me to not, do this. In reality, if you have to think twice about what you're about to do, maybe you're doing something wrong. And also when you're hearing it from a woman telling you, this is what I don't like, this is just basically free knowledge to those people to say, hey, if you don't get it, now you can. From a person that's telling,
you'll feel that pushback through her back. You'll see her head coming backwards. You'll see like if she can't physically move her upper body, you'll see her lower body like moving away from you. Like she'll be trying to get away from you. If you don't give her that space, it instantly becomes, oh, he's a bit sweaty and uncomfortable, to this dude's not letting me have space. This feels really uncomfortable. And it becomes a boundary issue straight away.
Gotcha. And my question is, because the situations where you're from and the same situations that I have or I hear about in the US, it's very similar. The women have the same complaints, and there's also men that are fighting. And I want people to understand this. When I give support to you about your cause, about other women talking about sexual assault, I have to clarify is we have to stop as men trying to say we're here to fight for you, because that's what you're doing. We're here to fight with you, because we don't want to take away the contributions you already have given, because a lot of the stories that I'm hearing from the UK, from across the world about the teachers that we hold dear to us have really been harming us as students, and it messes up the experience of one. Because to hear so many people say, yeah, I love dancing because I had a really bad experience with an instructor. I feel like it does cast a little bit of a dark cloud, but it's people like yourself and others that are saying, hey, yeah, we've had these experiences. We know what's going on, but we're combating that. Because I think for so long before COVID, in my opinion, and I say this a lot of our dance communities were just so fixated on having fun that those issues are kind of, again, swept under the rug. But now with COVID happening and isolation and quarantining, I think it gives, I'm glad I can have you on this platform to speak about this, because as a male myself, I can't give the experience of what you've been through, because I didn't go through that experience. So to have you talk about it, I appreciate it, because it is your experience and it's your truth. And I think many people, many males and women, can learn from that.
And I think it's important to remember that we don't actually need you to fight with us. We need you to have our backs at the bare minimum.
Absolutely.
Like, fighting with us is great, but having our damn backs, because guys are constantly going, yeah, I'll fight for you, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, when one of their friends is the one accused,
Yes.
And it doesn't matter at what level, if you're an artist or if you're just a rando person or whatever. The second your friend is accused, you have no impartiality, and that sucks. But I've seen that recently. Someone who was all over every assault case that came up. One of his best friends was accused, and it was basically impossible to convince him it was true, even though it had so much evidence. And it was really hard for him. And this is someone who's like had our backs, who has fought for us, who has fought for safety in the scene and everything. And he couldn't comprehend this like 20-year friendship with what he'd supposedly done to 12, 13 women. And it was like really heartbreaking watching him try to rejig this amazing human in his brain with who he actually is.
Yeah. Because
realizing there were times where this guy had just assaulted someone and then come downstairs to do shots with him. Like,
wow. That's just, it's not that it's unbelievable. It's just really sad that these type of incidents can still happen. And especially like you're saying, a person who's fighting or having the backs of women and making all these posts about we need to stop these people, when it comes to a person that they know not having the same energy or giving the same fight, it shows a lot.
You don't necessarily have to fight, but when you're very aware that your impartiality is compromised, you need to step back. And you go, yes. I'm not in a position to make a call on this one. I can't, because I love this person so much. Someone else needs to do it. And if that's a situation where we're talking about kicking someone out of a scene, or if we're talking about banning someone from events, or if we're talking about an artist who's been doing this, or we're talking about blocking them from everything forever, like, which we really should be doing with some of these people, but for some reason they're not. When we're talking about these situations, being aware that having women's backs might be saying nothing at all and going, I love this person, I can't be impartial, I'm going to take a step back. Even though you want to fight for them, even though you're sure they couldn't have done it, you know you're not impartial, just take a step back. And let people who have the capacity, like someone, Laura Reaver from the USA, she's amazing, she's a lawyer, she's very good at, like, even when she's emotionally invested, keeping it very, like, lawyer brain. And
yes,
like, letting someone like that make that call. Yes. Rather than you getting involved at all, and then respecting those decisions, and knowing that your emotions on the issue mean that you don't have an accurate idea of what happened, regardless of what your information is.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that.
And it's hard because some of these artists, especially if we're talking about an artist, some of these people have been friends for 20 years, which is one of the reasons it's impossibly hard for women to come forward sometimes. Because we know there's these 20 or 30-year friendships. We know there's these like lifelong bonds, and we know that artists are like family. Like, we really are. Like, I'm sick at the moment, and you guys probably saw I passed out before. I've been getting messages every day from 30 or 40 different artists, who some of whom are my best friends and some of whom I barely know. But they're messaging me every single day, just going, hey, just checking in. Do you need anything? Yeah. Some of them are in Brazil or the US or Australia or whatever. They physically can't do shit for me right now, but they're still checking in. Like, they're still wanting to make sure I'm okay and wanting to make sure everything's good, and like if I need to talk or whatever. Like, everyone's still very much my family. And even as like a new artist, as like a baby artist, like I'm still already part of this huge family of Zouk artists. And I can imagine that if one of my closer friends in this group was accused of something like that, I would have a really hard time being impartial. And I'm very much gung-ho on this. I have my own experiences on the dance floor with this, which I won't go into too much detail in because it's a little heavy for right now. But yeah, I've got like my own history that makes me very passionate about this topic.
Yeah.
So to have one of your own friends accused, and knowing that I would be very, very hard pressed to make proper decisions on this, you just need to know when to step back And sometimes that's what having our back is. And then on the other end of having our back is just telling your friends to stop being dicks when they make sexist jokes. Just telling your friends to stop being dicks when they do microaggressions, when they're doing the small stuff. It's the same sort of stuff with racism, with bigotry, with homophobia, with anything. When people make comments or do things that are the small stuff that you could just ignore, pausing and just making it weird.
Yeah.
And like for women, we have this really fun one we can do, which is we ask them to explain.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask them to explain that disgusting thing they just said to us. And then they have to do that sometimes in a business situation, in a boardroom.
Wow.
And like they immediately everyone stops laughing and whatever. But like as men, making it so we don't have to have our own backs in these situations. Like if you see someone being disgusting to women, or if you just locker room talk, same thing, and they're being disgusting, tell them they're being disgusting. And if it loses you a friend, did you really want that person as your friend in the first place? Really? And everyone's like, yeah, but words don't make anyone do horrible shit. Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah, words have meaning. Words have,
meaning, but something you say to me might be heard by John, who's standing 3 feet around the corner, who's highly impressionable, who already has thoughts and desires like that, who da-da-da. And he goes, oh, Diamond's a good bloke. If Diamond thinks it's okay, then maybe I can do it and it's fine. But you haven't done that. You've made a joke in that realm, and his brain's gone 1,000 miles a minute with it and taking it somewhere else. And the next day he goes and rapes and murders someone. Like, and that's not your fault. But if someone else in the room had straight away gone, bro, no, you can't say that. And you'd immediately gone, oh, yeah, that's probably a little shitty of me.
Yeah.
Like, that might just pause him enough. That might just help him stop. For me, something that I found extremely powerful was right after the Me Too movement started. I was walking down a street in Sydney at like midnight, and there was this huge bus with like 30 massive rugby players. So imagine you're like football players and then triple their size.
Yeah.
Rugby players are huge in Australia. And they just finished their club championship awards, whatever, wasted, all of them. And one of them screams out some flirty catcall thing. And my head immediately goes, and this is how I die. Like, this is the day I die. I'm going to get assaulted by 30 men and then fucking left in the street to bleed out. Great. That was the immediate thought my brain went into, because I'm in a dark street on my own in the middle of the night with 30 very large, very aggressive men. And then like 3 of them straight away hit him and went, bro. And he's like, we don't do that anymore. And they're like, no. And why not? Because it makes them scared. And they're all like, good. And he just goes, I'm sorry. I think you look very pretty today. That's all. And then all of them were like, you look nice. Have a nice night. And like deliberately walked so that they would go like around the block and not walk the same street as me.
Yeah.
And I was just like so happy. I was just like, it's like 2 weeks after the whole Me Too thing started. I was like, rugby players, what? It was like beautiful. And I was like one dude said something gross. 4 dudes called him out on an immediate change of behavior.
Yeah.
And like I could see he didn't mean to make me scared. He didn't mean to make me upset. He was a genuinely decent guy. But there might have been a guy at the back of the group who wasn't, who was already in that kind of mind frame of that sort of personality, that sort of situation in his head. And he's just seen 6 or 7 guys straight away go, bro, the fuck no. And like they physically hit him. Like they're like backhanded his chest and stuff. Like, what are you doing? Like we just had this discussion. Like
and I mean, again, it's like the experiences that you have, it tells a lot, because you went through an experience, like you said, after this Me Too movement, dealing with having an altercation or an experience with multiple men, and having that fear, that inner fear of something, the worst case scenario instead of the best case scenario. And that, and it shows that, hey, our culture seriously still needs to change. We have been making strides, but this is not enough. We need more. What we need more, like you said, is the men the biggest issue is with women having is with the men specifically that are doing these catcalling, that are being inappropriate to women, that are having this locker room talk, because not every man thinks the same. And those men that think like that really are harming our communities and really giving a bad viewpoint on what men really are.
Yeah.
And it's I'm thankful, at least even in that moment, there were people that curbed that behavior and you saw the immediate change. And
Mm.
that now kind of gives me an idea how now I understand, or I'm learning as well, your experience as a female solo artist. And what has that been like thus far?
That's been interesting. There's been a mix of like really amazing support from people like Sydney Schiff in the US, who's also another amazing solo female zooker. And there's been some really cool support from all the female artists. And verbally, there's been support from the guys in the scene. But there's also this undercurrent of, when are you going to get a dance partner?
Mm.
And then there's this other end of not being booked for gigs. So I've mentioned this to you before, but this was my first tour when COVID started. It was my first international tour. And I had lined up a gig for every single week. But I had to work a lot harder to line those gigs up, because sometimes the original person I approached for that time period, who had a congress or whatever, said, "Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. Like, it'd be so cool to have you. What's the name of your dance partner again?" When I didn't have a dance partner. And that is getting less common. And sometimes that's to do with the vibe they want at the event. Demos are really powerful in Zouk when you have a couple, and it's really inspiring and all this sort of stuff. But I can borrow someone's dance partner if you want me to teach a couples thing. Like, I can.
Yeah, but you right now, you feel for you that you being a solo act is what makes you happy.
Less that.
Okay.
For me, it's I refuse to have a dance partner for a dance partner's sake.
Yes.
So if I had already met someone in Australia or whatever who was like the perfect kind of like fit as a dance partner, I would have already been teaching with someone for years, months, whatever. But in Australia, we're very, very high density on teachers, very low density on solo men. So I would have had to like train someone up from scratch, which there's no way in hell I would do that. I don't have the patience. But also, like, for me, I'm in a place in my own dancing journey where I want my dance partner to be pushing me.
Yes.
I'm not in a place where I'm like amazing and I can just take anyone and make them amazing too. I'm not there. And if I was, it might be a slightly different situation. But I would really love to like find someone who like inspires me and who like matches me personality wise, and who we can create really cool stuff together, because I have 1,000,001 creative ideas that I can't do because I don't have a dance partner, and it drives me crazy. So many like really creative video ideas. I've got like a whole like document on my phone. Every time I come up with a new idea, I just write it down now, because I know I'm not going to have an opportunity for a while to do these things. So like when I eventually get a dance partner, it's gonna be like, here you go, pick one.
Yeah, I mean, and I know when we do eventually in the future get back to dancing, again, we're gonna be living under a new normal, in my opinion. But we also have to realize is I think a lot of the discussions that we're having, like this one here, are gonna help our community build a stronger foundation. Because especially for those that say, well, we didn't know that there was problems. Well, if you didn't know, now you know. If you didn't, if you didn't,
we didn't know before, you can't hire them now, because we all know now. Like,
exactly. And again, I applaud
people
in
every scene, not Zook. Sometimes it's Zook, but in every scene, I know of rapists who were hired, and I was horrified, and I point blank will not work or attend a festival if I know there's a rapist on staff in any capacity, DJing, photography, anything. And I have been horrified to find out that the organizers knew or the organizers didn't believe it or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, your friend's second chance does not come at the like safety of your attendees ever. I don't care.
No,
Like, I don't care
I
how it.
no, I really do appreciate your honesty because we do need more of that, not just from females, but also the males that say that they support these
Mhm.
women who tell their stories. Support doesn't just mean telling them privately; it's also showing the support publicly.
But at the
You
end of
know?
the day, like now we all know. So
Yeah.
you can't get away with it anymore. Like if you want to hire one of these people who's been publicly outed, you're going to have to be real careful because everyone knows and no one will come to your event. And even if people do come to your event, it's going to be all dudes.
Yeah.
No woman
So,
wants to go to an event where they know a rapist is working. Come on.
I
Like, no
mean,
one's going to turn up to that.
it's true. I mean, to be honest, like in all of the countries that have dance, we have the good and the bad, or the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's unfortunate that we're in a quarantine from this pandemic, but what this pandemic has shown is the all the sides of our community. And I definitely agree. I would love to know now, as we are going now into the conclusion, what has since we've been through quarantine, what I know you have this topic of COVID teaching and that new world now of us not really having in-person classes, but can you kind of give me some more elaboration on the idea of COVID teaching and the online alternatives?
Yeah. I don't know how much of it's been going on in the Salsa Bachata scene, but in the Zouk world, we immediately started having online congresses, which have been so crazy. Like, I was more tired after the first Zouk Lounge than I was after like the last like 4 congresses I went to. I was like, because I did every single class. Like it was like all day. I taught the very first class of that event, and I did every single class every hour for 3 days, and I was like so tired. And then like the parties go crazy. Like it's a lot of fun. And it's been a lot of adjusting the way that we teach.
Hmm.
There's a lot of visual cues that teachers have had to learn that maybe they didn't know before, or ways of communicating visually or auditorily that they would normally rely physically on. I was already very much into using muscles and stuff. I teach very anatomy-based content,
Hmm.
regardless of if it's like a connection workshop, like very hippy-dippy kind of Zouk, soul Zouk kind of end, or if I'm doing like Rio style, like I teach very much based in the anatomy and based in neuroscience. So for me, there was a lot of like getting all up in front of my screen with privates and like hyper analyzing someone's muscles and
Yeah.
like, I can't quite, can you turn? Oh yeah. And then like, I know you need to engage this muscle more, like all these sorts of things. It's been really challenging. But then the last month, last couple of weeks, I've started teaching again in Germany.
Hmm.
So I'm doing a little mini tour at the moment of Germany before I move back to Amsterdam. And like noticing my teaching is so much better now. Like I
Mm.
can tell at like 30 paces stuff I used to have to walk up to the person to check. Now it's like, oh, you're doing this. Like it's like barely a thought.
Yeah.
Because the way that I've had to hyperanalyze visually and hyperanalyze auditorily everything that's going on is so different. So it's been kind of incredible to see my own teaching progress and my own teaching change so dramatically. And we're still not allowed touch in classes. So there's no contact teaching here in Germany. Students are allowed to switch, or they're allowed to like just have one partner when they arrive, like they choose that.
Yeah.
And they can wear masks and all this stuff. We don't wear masks as the teachers, but we're also not switching partners at all, or dancing with the students, or touching the students at all. And then we also have socials, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, but like we can't touch them, but then we could do socials with them. It makes no sense. Like 20 people. So I got to go to my first actual social a couple of weeks ago, which was amazing. I was so happy. But yeah, it's just being kind of really dramatically shifted the way I teach. And it's made me better verbally communicating concepts. Oh, you're gone. I can't hear you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is it a little better?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, sorry. No, again, what you're doing is amazing and showing that we have to change with the times. And having these online classes is essential because, again, safety should be the number one priority. Whether it just be with congresses, whether it be with socials, demos, whatever we're having, I think, again, everyone needs to just be safer because the more we're safe, the quicker we will come back to the realities that we knew from before. I mean, they won't be the same, but they'll be better than nothing. So, I definitely thank you that we can have this time to speak to you because to understand what it's like in places like Australia, places like Germany, places in Europe, because to learn from your experience, it helps me get a better understanding on what the life is like over there. And, I hope, especially in the future, I can take a trip across the world over there and really see the scene and how beautiful it is and how inclusive and accepting it is. I love that you are speaking your truth, speaking how you feel about your culture, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I appreciate you as a female solo artist because you can honestly say, I love teaching, but I also have troubles with the acceptance of me just being a female solo artist. And,
Which changes in the scene. But yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely
at the moment than it is Salsa Bachata. I think Salsa is the worst for it right now.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And it's affecting everyone differently. And people now have to just clamor up and really get into this online world. So, for me, I'm glad that at least tonight that we could be able to speak. We can get an understanding of who Anna was before dance, during dance. And at least before we go, would you love to leave us with any last words and the contact information for where people can reach you?
Yeah, just make sure you're supporting all your artists, guys. There's a lot of really amazing online content coming up. If you want to know about any of it, you can hit me up and I'll message you all the Zouk related things I know about. There's also quite a few non-style like specific stuff. For instance, UKDC, which is in England, is running an amazing class with Felipe Lira, who's in Brazil, and Thayani, who's in Portugal, and it's a femme fusion class, so it's not style specific at all. And like, they're people who are in completely different countries right now. Normally, you'd never do weeks of class with them at the same time. So like, things like that are coming up, and make sure you just check them out because at the moment you have the ability to learn from any artist you want anywhere in the world. And so many of them are having such a rough time of it. So if online classes is something you have the emotional capacity for, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth your while. And my info, I'm not doing anything online. I'm doing my online quarantine tutorials. Keep an eye out for those. You can see my Facebook. I think Diamond tagged me. And then also my Instagram is Anna Hoekstra Zouk, which I'll just type in the comments.
Oh, absolutely. We'll definitely, after this interview, I'll definitely put out your information because I think people really need to see what you've really been contributing, especially in the Zouk community. But the power that you have as a female solo artist, it definitely means a lot. And having you on tonight was amazing. I got to understand you more, see your story, learn from it. And at least for everyone can see is on Instagram, you can follow Anna right under here with the comment that we have to follow, but also that information will be given out. So Anna, I thank you so much for coming on. And like I tell all my guests, this is our first discussion, but it surely won't be our last. I would love to have you back on during the fall so we can catch up with you and see how everything's going. Again, I do.
Fall is when?
Yes, yes. And, for me,
fall? I don't know. Fall is autumn, so that's Northern Hemisphere. Autumn is when?
fall is in September. So actually, like,
Oh,
yeah, it's coming up. It's like,
so autumn for me is like April. So I'm like mentally going, when does that happen?
gosh, no, because for us, and March, April would be springtime for us,
Yeah.
and then it's autumn and then fall. So we'll definitely later this year. I would
Living
love
in the
to have.
Northern Hemisphere is hurting my brain.
No worries. But I definitely thank you for coming onto the platform.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely talk more. Any events or anything you want me to share in the future, don't hesitate to contact me because I definitely support what you're doing, and you're doing things the right way. Again, I want you to stay safe out there, and I hope one day we can all just reunite.
Yes, on the dance floor very, very soon. Very
Absolutely. I thank you so much, Anna, for coming onto the platform.
soon.
And, stay safe. Have a beautiful night/morning. Yes, morning. And again, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the amazing work. And we'll see each other soon. All right,
Thanks,
everyone. Thank everyone. Have a great
Bye.
night. Bye.